Good morning to all who help feed and clothe the world, and welcome to this edition of In the Loop Weekend Ag Talk, brought to you by Alphen Insurance Agency. We hope this is the best 5 to 7 minute agriculture update that you view during the week. In each edition, we're going to take you behind the scenes, let you meet a team member here at Alphen Insurance Agency who is working hard to serve you. Hopefully, you can put a face with a name, learn a little about them, find out an interesting fact or two, and see what they've been doing for the week. We'll also give you an update on local, state, U.S., and a snapshot of agriculture across the globe. This week, we're going to go behind the scenes with Miss Tanya Grady. Tanya lives in Wayne County and has been with Alphen Insurance Agency working as an agent assistant for a little over a year and a half. In her free time, Tanya enjoys reading and working outdoors. Interesting fact about Tanya, she's been over to 12 countries in Europe, Asia, and Central America. Tanya, what have you got going on this morning?
Thanks, Brian. Good morning. Today I am working on several different mailings that will be going out next week. So expect to see something from Alphen Insurance coming in your mailbox. We have our November newsletter, which of course is full of great information and useful resources. I'm also working on getting a preliminary acreage report out for wheat. With this, it has your production report and a letter just explaining how to make this easiest for all of us. So remember, if you have any questions about the preliminary report, or if you just need to consult with us to help you figure out what's the best way to get this done, please give us a call. Thanks. Back to you, Brian.
Thank you, Tanya. Now we're going to take a look at what markets were doing mid-afternoon on Friday. December corn was sitting at 686. December wheat was at 853. December cotton 79.04 after a rough couple of days. November soybeans at 13.95. When we look in the news locally, harvest is making good progress here. Weather has been on our side. Seems like some of us had our first frost this week. Next week looks like we'll be in the 70s, maybe even the 80s on a couple afternoons with 50s at night. Dry conditions continued for the next few days. If you see the chart over on the screen there, the drought severity index still shows extreme drought through much of the U.S. and in parts of the Carolinas. Wheat acres appear to be flat to down going into 2023. As we look into 2023, we need to start talking about budgets and making sure we account for interest in our budgets by crop in 2023. It's been a while since interest rates have been so high, and we need to factor that into our operating budgets for next year. We also need to look at the carrying cost of holding any grains versus selling now if we have any grains in stock on our farm. This week on Standard Grain Markets, and other stuff, subscriber only content video, Chris Barron with AgView Solutions was talking with Joe Vaklovic of Standard Grain about the cost of carrying grain through the year. When you look at a sample farm with 100,000 bushels of corn valued at $6.25, 40,000 bushels of soybeans valued at $14. If they have an operating note of $1.3 million, we're going to look at what interest rate costs are per day, per month, and per year at different interest rate percents. We're going to start out with a 3% interest rate operating note. That equivalates with this grain in storage at $106 a day, $1,278 a month, $39,000 a year. If we bump that interest rate on the operating loan up to 5%, that's $178 a day, $2,131 a month, and $65,000 a year. That interest rate bumps up to 7%. That's close to $250 a day, almost $3,000 a month, and $91,000 a year. So you'll have to ask yourself, in times like these, does it really cost to hold grain, or should we be selling and paying down our operating notes? Only you can answer that question for your operation. but we do encourage you to look into it. When we look in national news, transportation woes continue. There's an interesting video on YouTube talking about Mississippi River issues. It is done by a professor at Campbell University, Sal Marcagliano. It's an excellent video that talks about things aren't rolling on the Mississippi. Railroad strike concerns are still out there, as well as we're still battling finding enough truck drivers to move all of our inputs all across the United States. Export sales are down for corn, but USDA is showing strong purchases by China this week on soybeans, a great increase over the last 10 days. When we look at 2023 Farm Bill, we're hoping that's something that'll take off as soon as we get past this election. American Farm Bureau Federation got over 60 recommendations that they have recommended when it relates to the Farm Bill. Some of those being keeping Farm Bill funding the same and increasing commodity price supports. The top goal, though, is to keep funding the same. Crop insurance is a very important component for farmers' risk management, but they say that the policy recognizes concerns with tying too many conservation restrictions to the crop insurance program. There's also a focus on being more transparent with milk checks, funding conservation programs, rural development programs, and streamlining nutrition programs to get food to those who are in need. When we look at crop harvest, corn, about 45% harvested in the U.S., which is up from last year. Soybeans, around 63% harvested now, which is up. When we look into cotton, cotton's around 37% harvested, which is up versus last year. And peanuts are around 56%, which is up from last year. When we look into winter wheat planted, over 60% of that being planted now, and about 38% of it emerged. When we look into world news, Turkish president reassures grain markets that Black Sea corridors will remain open. This triggered some early weak wheat and corn declines in the market. When you look into Black Sea, there are reports of Russia laundering stolen grain that they stole from Ukraine, taking out in the middle of the ocean, doing ship-to-ship exchanges, and then going and selling at destinations that does not make it appear that it came from stolen grain from Ukraine. Weather across the area, Argentina, Brazil, and Mexico are seeing varied weather there. In Argentina, there was potentially some freeze damage. They've got 16% of their corn planted, but there's not been an estimate on how much damage they've had yet. In Brazil, they're about 41% of their soybeans are in the ground, and about 50% of their wheat has been harvested. Thank you for tuning in to In the Loop Weekend Ag Talk, brought to you by Alphen Insurance Agency. We hope you have a great weekend. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook. Also, send us a message with your email, and we'll keep you up to date on all things crop insurance and agriculture. And remember, make mental health a priority at your house and in your operation. Create time for yourself and make time for those around you. And don't forget, give us a call. We'll come to you so you can focus on family and farming. Have a great weekend.